Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Renee. For those of you that are new here, if you are new here, please subscribe to my channel. We are on the way to 1,000 subscribers, and it would make me really happy if you did that. So let me know if you're a new subscriber. Leave me a comment down below. But today's topic is going to be, is college important? Is college important? Why or why not? Or at least based on my own opinion and my own experience, my own observations, do I believe that college is important? If you are interested in this topic, then make sure you keep watching, and yeah, let's get into it. So basically, I can't talk about whether or not I believe college is important without first making it known that college is also referred to as higher education. So college is basically an extension, the next level in regards to learning your preferred skill kind of thing. I guess you can't really ask if college is important or not without asking the question, is education important? To which I would always answer yes, but let me kind of like backtrack and give you some background in regards to like my own education and stuff. So of course, like pre-K, and then when I was younger, probably like first grade, I believe, around there, my mom had like finagled me into this very like well-known public school in like, you know, a privileged area of Manhattan, and it was like a big deal that I was in this school, but I didn't know it at the time because I was really little. But looking back, like, it's a very well-funded school, we'll just say it that way. And so my experience in that school was so wonderful. Like, you know, I barely remember that much because I was so young, but I do remember like being in art class, and I was in first grade, okay, and my art supplies were like our art lesson was in making like a mini tiled mosaic, and I was in first grade. So you can imagine how much more this school had in comparison to other schools in terms of like resources and stuff. So the school was wonderful, and then I ended up getting kicked out because my child self didn't know that I wasn't, like, basically we pulled a lot of strings to get me into the school, and I didn't live within like the district that this school required to like be accepted into the school. But I had no idea about like this kind of, I was little, you know what I mean? So basically I had kind of told on myself, and I was talking to my teacher without knowing. I kind of had revealed that I didn't live, like I revealed where I lived, and it was not in the district at all, let's just say that. So I got kicked out of that school. So that was first grade, and from then, you know, I kind of transferred schools here and there, and then I moved from New York to Jersey, and I did middle school and just like my local middle school and stuff. And then from Jersey, I was in a middle school that kind of extended into high school, like one of those kinds of schools, and it was just like my local school, like literally a block away from my house. And in the 5th grade, I believe it was the 5th grade, also like backtracking, in every school that I had gone to, I was always like in the advanced levels in regards to like reading and stuff. Like I was always an avid reader, just recreationally, and in school, you know, it kind of showed academically. Like I used to get in trouble because I was like, I really wasn't doing this on purpose, but the teachers assumed I was. So basically I would get in trouble and they would say that I was like rushing through my work so that I could go and read my book. But in reality, like, I was just a lot better at writing than the kids in my grade. I didn't need that long. There was never any academic problem, you know. It wasn't like I was rushing and they could plainly tell in my work that it was not as well done as it could have been. It was just that they just assumed that I was rushing so that I could finish my book. So that just goes to show you how much of an avid reader I was. So in every school I went to, I was kind of like put in like certain groups, or like with kids in like higher grades, because my reading level was always kind of like above the average. and that followed me like throughout my education. Just like a little bit of the background on me. So when I was in 5th grade, because of that uniqueness that I had in my like reading comprehension and writing, one of my teachers basically recommended that I transfer to this other school that was a middle school and high school, and it was like one of the better schools in my area. It's a very, very good school, especially like in the area that I was living in at the time. So in 6th grade I got accepted to this program. Was it 6th grade? I think it was 6th grade. It was either 6th or 7th grade, you know, one of those. But I ended up transferring to this school where I spent my middle school and my high school years, and it was a very good school. It was a magnet school, and you know, just like a great school overall looking back, and definitely like setting up students for success in like many areas. And I really do attribute like my higher education to going to that school as well. And from that school I you know, it was definitely more like my level. It was definitely like more my level. Like the classes were a little bit more challenging, and yeah, I felt more stimulated, you know, I guess you could say. And then from there I applied to college my senior year. I got into like the majority of the schools that I applied to. My dream school at the time was like Northwestern. Like I really with all my heart wanted to go to Northwestern, but basically in a nutshell, all the schools that I got into did not offer me enough financial aid, so I ended up choosing a school based on the financial aid that they offered me. And actually I didn't even get financial aid my first year, but like in the long term it ended up working out financial aid wise, and that is the reason why I picked the school that I went to. But and now I'm currently like in my last year of college. I have a 3.2 GPA in English, and that is, I will just disclaim that it's still a good GPA, but I know that if I really applied myself and really just like went for the gold in all of my classes and was as focused as I know I can be, I would have a much higher GPA. But I don't think I haven't, you know what I mean? Like I had senioritis throughout college. I was working, you know, it wasn't that, I didn't have that like overachiever in me. This is just the grade that I have by just trying to pass my classes basically. So I have a 3.2 GPA in English. That is like my academic background. And yeah, I just felt like giving my background in education was a good place to start, because I kind of formed my opinion on whether or not I believe college is important. And yeah, let's get into that. I just want you guys to know a little bit more about me. I mentioned that I was good at writing and reading because I do feel like that played a part in my trajectory academically, because like my skills became more and more refined the more that I pursued my education in regards to reading comprehension and writing. It reflected in my grades, it reflected in my test scores, it reflected in my speaking, and it, you know, it just reflected in like many different areas. And that's how I kind of got into college, believe it or not. So loving reading from very young kind of separated me in that way and gave me opportunity, is what I wanted to say about that. Let's just cut to the chase. Yes, I do believe that college is important, but these are my reasons for why. I recently discovered that I always knew there was private schools and I knew you had to kind of pay to go there, but I didn't realize how high the cost of going to these schools was for like young kids. Like I'm talking K through 12, like first grade, second grade, third grade. There are private schools with tuitions up to like, you know, $30,000, $40,000, like very you know, for a specific kind of student. I don't know how else to say that, but like that kind of came to my attention recently, that people pay really high tuition for like elementary school education and like middle school education, and for some reason that kind of like really surprised me, because I know of course we pay to go to college, but like middle school and elementary school kind of got me thinking like, why is that? And of course I'm not arguing for or against these kinds of schools, I'm just telling you that I got my wheels turning. And you know, I started thinking like, why would a family pay that much money for their kid to go to this school? Especially if like you go with the argument that like education is not important and college is not important, then why are schools that admit your young kids charging this much for tuition? And in some way, I do believe that your education kind of can set you up for your future. Not always. I'm not saying that you necessarily need college to be successful. Like, we all know that's not true. That's not what I'm saying. But I believe that people pay that much money for their kids to go to these schools because they recognize the importance of education, and they recognize that that kind of pattern starts very young, and they want the kids to have the best resources and stuff. But that just goes to show you how much of an emphasis people place on their education, especially like for their children. A good education can provide you with resources. That's why Ivy Leagues exist. It's a community that fosters intellectuals that will make a change. A good education, as many people understand it from what I observe, is a foundation for what's to come. Everybody is unique, everybody has their own path, but there's definitely a very large importance placed on education, and if you think about it, there must be a reason for that. So these are some of the reasons why I believe education is important, and why from that perspective I consider college important. So what I've noticed is that education shows itself in ways that are not just academic. For example, I get good grades in English, but the skills I learned through years of study and reading like a lunatic since I was young are innumerable. For example, I know words like innumerable. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so that includes but is not limited to expanded vocabulary. To some that seems insignificant, but if you think about it, you need to be able to represent yourself in the best way possible. So like, it's sad to say, but like, we are judged kind of based on first impressions, especially like in the professional world, but like in other places as well, like basically in every place, like especially all my women watching, we all know how we are judged by how we look all the time, constantly. So like, you're also judged on how you speak, how you carry yourself. You know, can you hold a conversation with people of different backgrounds? Can you speak on what you contribute to in a work environment, in an interview, eloquently, you know? Some of those skills you learn in English, speaking, you know, I'm doing that right now on YouTube. I'm able to like convey my thoughts to you guys in a hopefully understandable way. I know sometimes it can be a little bit scatterbrained. As a matter of fact, one of my teachers called me scatterbrained in middle school, and at the time I was like, I literally googled that word and I was like, I'm kind of offended, but it's kind of true, but like whatever. She was like, you're very bright, but you're very scatterbrained, like whatever. Writing is involved in literally everything. I gained that from English. Critical thinking, which is like the most important skill I think I've gained through not even just English, but just through my education, is that you literally need to think for yourself. And that sounds like, yeah, sure, but a lot of us don't practice that. And that involves making choices for yourself, coming to your own conclusions, living your life the way you want and not just the way that other people tell you, reading between the lines, explaining your thought processes, and emotional intelligence. One of the ways to become wealthy, they say, is to work smarter and not harder, and that's literally a prime example of critical thinking. Like, if I could write my own dictionary and I defined critical thinking, I would, one of my definitions, because I would probably have multiple definitions for every word and phrase, but it would be critical thinking dash thinking outside of the box. And that's literally, if you listen to like motivational speakers and stuff, they talk about this kind of stuff a lot, and I've learned that definitely through my education. And yeah, I just have like, you know, a skill set that I think is valuable. Yes, college is known to set you up to join the workforce, and that's why some people argue against it, saying it's useless, fighting the man. But can you also use your education for yourself? if you're clever? Question mark. I think so. So yeah, I just feel like, so all that to say, I just feel like through, and like I mention all the time, English and reading, and now I'm realizing like even speaking, these are all things that I like naturally enjoy doing. Everybody, like all of the things that I heard since I was little about what to pursue in higher education, nobody ever told me like, oh, you should go be an English major. Like no one ever said that to me. But in a lot of ways, I'm really happy that I went that route, because I can always go to school after and kind of like hone my skills in on one particular thing. But I just feel like the natural, I feel like we all have our own natural abilities, and even if you think that that can't directly translate to the academic world, I can basically say with 99% confidence that it can. And you just have to like think a little bit harder on how it's related. But like from the beginning, when I chose to major in English, I understood that language, communication, being able to think, being able to write, is the foundation of so many different things. And I just still believe in my heart 100% that that's going to really pay off for me in the future. But yeah, I do believe in using your education for yourself. As you guys can kind of tell from my channel, actually I'm not sure because I don't really speak on this a lot, but I am very much aspiring, I guess you could say, in entrepreneurship. So I do believe in kind of like using your skills and your education to build yourself up. And you know, how is that ever a bad investment? Your education can never be taken away from you. So by that I mean all of the things that you learn are literally within you forever. And the thing is that of course you can go to school and not apply anything that you learned, but they say that true knowledge is applying the things that you have learned to your life. Another reason I believe college is important and education is important is because it's important to never stop learning. It doesn't matter when or why you go to school, but I believe in pursuing an education in something you like, enjoy, and are curious about, because it's important to never stop learning. Like if you think about it, we will never stop learning, because we will learn, if not through school, through, you know, just like life experience. Hence why I'm always telling people, you know, I'm a student of life. Like that's one of my mottos, that I'm a student of life, because I'm learning something new every day, even if it's not in like a traditional kind of context. So I do believe that it's important to never stop learning, and that's why sometimes when you take a college class, you'll see like auditors in the class. And typically auditors, I don't really know exactly what an auditor is, but from what I see, auditors are significantly older than me. You know, they are 70s, 80s, and they're just in the class just to learn because they like the topic. You know, maybe they just like literature and they just want to be a part of the discussion because they literally enjoy it. And that's just one way that I see how people continue to learn. And yeah, I think it's important to never stop learning. No, you don't need college to be successful, but education is for you, and that is why I think it's important to pursue it if you have the opportunity, or if you make the opportunity, because sometimes we have to just make the damn opportunity, if you know what I mean. So everybody knows that you can get a job without going to school or majoring in that area, but at the end of the day, if you had the choice to refine any one area of your life, wouldn't you choose to do so? Also, like on that note, something else I'll say about being in school, like from my own experience, is that like school was always kind of like a safe haven for me. Like, I won't go into too much detail, but there was definitely a lot of days when I was younger that I was so happy to be in school. Like I was like, oh my gosh, thank you, just happy to be in that kind of environment. And of course part of it is because there were some topics that I really enjoyed, but also like when you're in school, it doesn't really matter what background you're from, because you can apply yourself, study, make yourself more of an asset through your education, and basically get to wherever you want to be in life through refining your education. And this was something that I kind of like heard a lot when I was little, but I didn't fully understand the implications of it. Like, when I was little, my parents came from the Dominican Republic to the United States, and their parents, you know, were the first of their family to move to the United States. So I'm like second generation, I guess you could say. But you know, there was just like always this very big emphasis placed on education. And you know, there was this whole thing that I always heard when I was younger, like, oh, how our families come to America for like a better life. And to me it seemed like better life and education were kind of like synonymous, and I never really understood that. Like, I had never understood why, you know, even now that I'm in college, my father's like, you know, stay in school, like, go get your master's, like, just stay in school, keep going up the, like, get as much education as you can, basically. And I never understood why, like, because I see so many examples of people not going to school and also being successful. But I must say that now that I'm getting older, of course, that's how it normally is with some things, right? I'm definitely understanding what they were saying, because I, through school, of course, have met so many different students from like all different backgrounds, and you would be surprised to hear how they grew up, you know, where they came from, and just like all of the difficulties that they face and all the other responsibilities that they had outside of school, myself included, besides just getting good grades, you know. And it was this thing of like, it wasn't even a question of whether or not I should get good grades. Like, it was like, that was like my job, basically. Like, my parents are working hard and, you know, sacrificing themselves so that I could be in a position that I could be in school, and getting good grades was like my repayment to them for working so hard for me, if that makes sense. So it's just that when I was younger, I didn't understand why this mattered. Like, I didn't get it. But now I can see how, you know, I look at some of the students that I graduated high school with and what they're doing now, and it's like, psh, you know, totally like elevated their life in ways that I haven't even, you know, like, I'm not where I want to be yet career-wise, but seeing my peers excel, like literally excel, and, you know, get into places that, and just like have the lifestyle that is like, you know, basically one of like magazines and stuff, all that, you know, basically I understand the value of education now, and I understand how education is kind of like a level playing field, because it's not a level playing field in terms of like, with college particularly, I understand that there is like a financial aspect to it, but in regards to like public schools and like, you know, K through 12 kind of thing, I do feel like education for the majority of the time is this level playing field where everybody can kind of, depending how much they give into it, they can reap from it, and depending on how much they reap from it, they can kind of create the lifestyle that they really want. And that is just something that's very invaluable, because you're putting the power in your own hands when you're refining yourself in such a way. Again, I kind of want to like disclaim the fact that I understand not everybody has access to the financial means of paying for college, but there are many like resources available, like FAFSA and other things that can help you significantly into funding your education. And there are like programs created for people who don't have that means, starting from like very young. So I think there's always a way, and if it's really important to you, then I believe in you that you can make a way for yourself to kind of pursue that. But yeah, going back to what I was saying about being young and like not understanding why it even mattered if I got good grades, you know, what beyond, like, you know, like, I just didn't see the correlation. But now that I'm older, I can definitely see how education can make a big difference in a person's life. And even if you kind of come from quote unquote nothing, or you come from a background of like not having enough resources, like no matter what background you come from, I feel like education only helps you. It doesn't like hinder you at all, but of course you have to apply it, and you have to kind of you know, put yourself out there and this and that. Kind of like in conclusion, wrapping this up, I know it's kind of was all over the place, but maybe you can kind of understand my thinking. I do believe that college is important. Sorry. I do believe that college is important. I do believe that education is important. I believe that it only grows you as a person, and you will have the skills that you learn through your education for the rest of your life. And that is so important in itself. Like, I don't remember what book it is. It might be 1984 or like a book by Kurt Vonnegut. I'm not sure. It was one of those, I think. But there was a war, and like the first thing, and this might have happened in real life as well and not just in a novel, that, you know, books were burned. And it's because knowledge has a lot of value, and education has a lot of value, and intellect has value, and I believe in using those powers of intellect for yourself. And, you know, my personal journey with education has opened doors for me in the past, and I believe that it will continue to open doors for me in the future. So of course I would advocate for it. And one of the things that I really enjoy, and a lot of these thoughts are only coming to me now in my last year of school, because I'm just starting to appreciate it now that I'm about to leave, and that's the irony, isn't it? I just like value the environment of being around people and peers and students who genuinely want to make a difference in this world. I know that sounds like really cliche. Yeah, one of the things that I've really taken away from my experience in school is that like your environment kind of shapes your behavior and your future at times, because and you know, I would much rather be surrounded by people that I could learn from, people that are also learning, people that continually are striving for better for themselves and better for this planet, and, you know, want to make like significant changes in the world, and are, you know, pursuers of knowledge. You know what I mean? Like people who are constantly learning, people who are open-minded and, you know, educated. I could use a million other words to replace educated, but I'll just say educated. And yeah, so I believe college is important. I believe education is important. The purpose of this video, again, is to not put anybody down. If you haven't, you know, achieved the level of schooling that you would like, I believe 100% that you can still be successful without college. I see it all the time. I have friends who are like doing amazingly well, but, you know, I'm passionate about learning, I'm passionate about education, and I just want to like debunk that whole myth that like there's absolutely no purpose in college, of going to college, and or no need, because of like the positive experience that I've had. And of course I know this experience is not for everyone, but just for those who are kind of wondering if college is for them, or, you know, are just curious in like the philosophy of higher education and, you know, whether or not it's worth it. These are just like my personal thoughts, my experience. If you like this video, give me a like, give me a thumbs up. Let me know what your opinion is. Do you think college is important or not? Is there any kind of schooling that you are still looking to do, even if it's like way into the future? I don't believe that there's like a set path for everyone in terms of education. You might find yourself going to school in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s. You know, you just never know how life plays out. You know, I understand that, of course, but I I do believe in like never stopping the pursuit of knowledge and the pursuit of education in the areas that you enjoy, because it only adds to your character, it only adds to your, I don't want to use the word contribution, but you can definitely use your skills to help others and to inform others. I'm really passionate about informing people. Like, for example, like if I learn something new about health or something, I'll drill that into my family's brain like no other. I'm very passionate about, you know, sharing the things that I've learned. But yeah, all that to say, I don't buy into the idea that college is not important. I don't buy into the idea that school is not important. I think it's very important, and I'm curious to know you guys' thoughts. I hope I kind of express myself in a significant way, in a way that you understand what I truly feel at the bottom of my heart. And yeah, I'll see you guys here for the next video. Leave me a like if you like this video. Bye!